All right, welcome back to Random City Sports Ballers. We are at the beginning of fantasy baseball season. I'm getting a draft in a little bit early for my liking, but I wanted to get ahead here and tell you that while last year, a lot of you know that we suffered a major tragedy as a family. My son passed in the summer during emergency surgery. So we're moving forward from that finally. A lot of grief, but thank you all for your support. Okay, so fantasy sports for 2025. We ended up with $75 less than we started with. Okay, so we started at $800. We finished the year at $725. Well, it was heartbreaking, but. Last year fantasy football did not go well. I was not in the right frame of mind. As you all know, it was a rough year for me. So we're back this year with fantasy baseball. I have a draft coming up for this league right here. Let's take a look at this league. It is a $100 head-to-head points league. And, we got some guys in here who are pretty good at this. This guy, Chin Music, I was in some leagues with him last year. He is an excellent fantasy baseball player, fellas. Excellent fantasy baseball player. So I've got to keep an eye on him in this draft because he's very good. And so let's just take a look. Here, let me show you the ratings and levels for these people. Okay, here's Chin Music, Joe. Victory Will Arias, I remember, was one of his teams last year. He's ranked above 1,000 in the diamond category. We've got other diamonds in Rob, who has the team Power 100. Ben, Rick Monday's All-Stars. Philip has Philip Stars. Adam, he's got a team I'll be playing in week 1. Pitches Be Crazy. Bombs Away is got Long Balls Rule, and Jared has Jared's Hits. So we got a lot of diamond players in here, and then you got us chumps down here. Just, okay, we're just platinum. But anyhow, so this is going to be a great time, this league. Everybody's going to be in it we're always in it to win it. But these guys are going to be challenging. I know that. Like I said, I've been in a league with some of them before. Okay, let's take a look. The draft. You'll see a lot of tabs open here. That's because I'm looking at different positions, because this is a points league, so I really have to stay focused on what's going on with different positions. Right here you can see catchers. Nope, wait, go back to catchers. First base. Let's get this one to first base. There we go. First base, second base, third base. Shortstops, outfield, starting pitchers, and guess what? I am not even going to bother looking at relief pitchers. Okay, there's no point to doing that. And this is what they're projecting for starting pitchers. I'm taking a look at what they're projecting on these fellas. Back here. They're projecting Tariq Skubal to lead the league and, Skeens, Crotchet. But this is a points league. You need points. And Skubal to Ryan Pepio at 25. So the difference between number 1 and number 25 is 400 points. That's somewhere around 40 points per week, maybe a little more. So you got to remember, this is kind of, 20 points per week. I am sorry. But 20 points per week is a big deal. That's win or loss. So having a guy like that as your starting pitcher is great, but man, you got to really hope nobody gets injured on any position you have. So I'm going to close that down. We're going to close this down. What is this one? Oh, that's Joe. And we're just going to get over here. We're in our draft. We're 9 minutes away. And I have the first pick. You guys, I haven't had first pick in a fantasy baseball league in a long time. So I love that I've got first pick in a points league. But the choice on this one is not easy. There's two guys, and that's Judge and Ohtani. Okay? Judge and Ohtani. These are my guys. That's for my first 2 picks. I want one of them because it's a points league, and they are going to get the most points. But now, who do you take? Do you take Aaron Judge or do you take Ohtani? Shoo doggy. That is a tough pick, isn't it? Oh, it would be so much easier if I could just use the Ohtani plus pitcher Ohtani. That would have been nice. But by the way, I think I am going to look at drafting Ohtani as a pitcher this year. I'm not sure. Anyways, so here we are. We're setting off on the 2026 season with our first draft here, $100 league. And it's a points league, head-to-head by week. You know, it's not rotisserie. It's a head-to-head points league. So each week you play against someone else, and whoever scores the highest points gets a win. It's like fantasy football, but with baseball. You've got to fill in all of the same positions. You don't have to fill in relief pitcher unless you really want to. If you'd like to use those 2 positions and get yourself a couple of more starting pitchers, man, that's not a bad idea because relief pitchers don't do much. For the year, most of them get around 600 to 650 points if they're good. So when you compare that to man, if you can really master what to do with those 2 little pieces of your puzzle, those relief pitcher spots, that's one that some people leave them empty. Some people like to go after the best relief pitcher points they can get. Not necessarily closer, but probably a closer. Because, I mean, you get the saves. Saves are good points. But, I mean, 600 points, oof, it is hard. It is hard. When you could have another pitcher who's most likely going to score at least 600 points for the year sitting on your bench. You know, a lot of relievers are actually down in the 400-point category. So unless you can get one of the top relievers and you're using a draft pick above 10 on a reliever in a points league, that is just such a bad idea. Go after other points. Win this league. All right. I'm going to cut to the recording here for a minute. So I'm going to come back at draft time. Y'all know who I'm taking with the first pick. All right. We're back. It is time to get this draft underway. We've got 30 seconds until it comes up. And fellas, I think I'm just going to take Aaron Judge. But Ohtani might run more this year. It's a tough call between Judge and Ohtani, isn't it? So, I don't know. What would you do? You know, maybe make a comment. Let everybody know what you would do right here because we're all fighting for trying to be psychic with a bunch of knowledge under our belts here about what's happened in the past. And Judge and Ohtani, man, I really feel like that is a fight for who to get right there. Judge or Ohtani? Judge or Ohtani? Judge, Ohtani. Gotta be right here, fellas. All right, here goes. We're taking Ohtani. There. So, the first pick of my first draft of 2026, I took Shohei Ohtani. And number 2 was Aaron Judge, of course. It'd be silly not to. And then for a points league, this should get interesting. We'll see how the rest of this plays out. But we got a long ways to go before my next pick. So, I'll update you when we get back. Coming up on my turn here, fellas, and everything has gone exactly as you'd expect. Everybody went after points. I was hoping Junior Caminero might get back to me. That would have been a nice thing, but that did not happen. So, again, we've got to go after best points we can get for every position here. Matt Olson is sitting right here as a first baseman. Yeah, we know what Matt Olson does. Pete Crow Armstrong is sitting there. James Wood is sitting there. Rafael Devers is a first baseman. So there's a lot of points still to be had in this position. All right. So how do we chase those points? How do we chase those points? Let's queue up some guys. We got Christopher Sanchez. I could look at Jazz Chisholm. Matt Olson is for sure to be looked at, along with James Woods and Rafael Devers. So, with these guys, who's the guy? Interesting. It's not really a dilemma that I'm in. I'm in a good situation. All right. Guys, we're going to take Matt Olson with this one. And then I've got time to figure out between these other guys. All right. Matt Olson. James Wood was a good one last year, but Chisholm sat out some games. Otherwise, he would have had, 20, 30 more points. I mean, there's 27 games difference, and let's call it 10 points a game. So Chisholm would be a good one because he's qualified for second base. So we're going to take Chisholm. There. Okay, now we wait for it to come back to me. All right, we got Matt Olson, Jazz Chisholm, and Shohei Ohtani. And I'm going to look at this because I have one extra pick over everybody else. So, ha. I'm predicted first, temporarily. But, yeah, I got good points out of these guys. And we know that Chisholm is going to have a better year because he's not going to be sitting out for those injury games, theoretically. All right. Then we'll be back for our next draft pick. All right. My turn is next, and we just had Hunter Brown taken. I mean, I could seriously consider taking a pitcher at this position of my draft. I have 3 really good bats. With Nito just now going, I think it's time for me to take Perdomo. We'll cue that up. And that makes the second pick a little different, doesn't it? Let's cue up Max Fried because that's a maybe. But I could get Bryce Terang. Yeah. Well, let's do that. Let's get Perdomo for my shortstop. And I don't have any outfielders yet. Maybe I should take a Riley Green at outfield. Who's available in outfield? Riley Green's right there. Cody Bellinger's there. You know what? I think I'm going to take Riley Green. Let's cue him up. Let's see what we got. Okay. Fried, Terang, and Green. Fried, Terang, and Green. Let's take Green. Yeah, this is a good guy for points. All right. So we'll see you on the other side of these next round of picks. All right, I'm up next again, and okay, while I've got Hunter Goodman queued up, the guys I'm actually looking at are an outfielder and a guy who plays in 4 positions he's qualified for: second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. Michael Garcia. Now, the reason I'm looking at Garcia at this point is because I've looked at some other drafts that people have had, and Garcia and Seager, there went Bellinger, unfortunately. So now I got to figure out what's the best play with the other one. So let's go ahead and we get Garcia up here. But is the best play to go after a catcher right now, or perhaps like Soderstrom, who had a fine year with the A's in first base and outfield? That would really fill out my outfield nicely. What else is available in the outfield? Oh, I see. That's Garcia and Springer and Byron Buxton, Christian Yelich, Suzuki. Altuve qualifies outfield. That's fun. But yeah, we're really digging deep if we start going too far here. So, let's take our first one, and we'll take Garcia. And now we've got time to decide Goodman, right? I could look at a starting pitcher, but I just am, the value is so hard to find here. Pivetta is probably going to be a good value. Maybe I'll do that. But it really looks like it's going to be Soderstrom or Goodman. Goodman would fill out my catcher position nicely. I may be able to wait on a catcher. That's a tough one. Soderstrom's not getting back to me, and I do need more outfielders. So let's go ahead and get another outfielder in here. There. So, we've got all bats. I really have to look at pitching now. All right. Get back to you as soon as we get to our next picks, fellas. Okay, we're coming up next, fellas, and, there's a good chance I need to be looking at pitching right here. I've still got a catcher queued up, but I might take back-to-back pitchers if Gausman and Ohtani both get back to me. I think I'm going to take those two pitchers. That's where I feel myself being. But, man, Goodman would be a great one to have because he scores a lot of points at catcher. Take a look at the other catchers. Let's take a look at catchers. Goodman, Austin Ramirez, we really start to have a fall off in points here. Let's look at what they did in 20. Yeah, we really start to have a fall off in points, fellas. So, although I really am looking at doing this. So let's cue that up, and let's cue up Ohtani. Who else would be a good starting pitcher in this round? Zach Wheeler might not be terrible. What's he hurt with? I don't know. He has right. He had the blood clot, but he's still behind at camp. Okay. All right. Well, I can't think of who else would be a big deal right here. So I'm going to go with these two that I've queued up. Gausman and Ohtani. Okay, fellas. Let's hope that works out. Thankfully, dude took Goodman right ahead of me, so that helped out. See you back when we get back to our next pick. All right, my turn is coming up next, so I'm looking at catchers, seeing if there's anything that is great for filling in the rest of my outfield. There's some really good choices here. You look at the way some guys finished last year. Joe Adele did well. Taylor Ward, Brandon Nimmo. I could get a pretty good fill-in at outfield. But it's at catcher where I'm starting to worry. Okay? I'm starting to worry because, I got Diaz down here. I could wait some more rounds on. What are we looking at for all players? Because maximize your points. And it's my turn to draft. All right. I liked Michael Busch a lot last year. A lot. And who else is exciting to me in this draft pick? Are there any starting pitchers that are exciting to me with this draft pick? I really still am sold on the idea that Zach Wheeler is going to get his points again. I don't know why they're projecting him that low. So let's cue up these two guys. And what else is there that I should be looking at? Tanner Bibby is a fine one to be thinking of. But let's go ahead and draft Zach Wheeler and Michael Busch. Okay, so that's some good points thrown into my utility spot. I still need an outfielder and a catcher. Okay, I know I can wait for a little bit on catcher. It's not as big of a priority. It's kind of like the tight end position in fantasy football. Unless you got that guy, that Cal Raleigh, and nobody saw that coming last year. You can't tell me you predicted that was going to happen, but it did. Okay, although I was high on Cal Raleigh last year, I actually was really high on Cal Raleigh last year. But anyways, here we are, and see you when the draft comes back to me, fellas. My turn is next, fellas, and well, choices got to be made, right? Everybody's grabbing up their top picks for, your starting pitchers. Catchers are in short supply. Outfielders, I still need to fill in one. I don't know who that will be. I'm not sure. It could wait. I could wait on Trent Grisham. Let's see here. What are they projecting people? Why do they project people so low? Stephen Kwan gets, but anyways. So we've got catcher, we've got an outfielder, and I need to fill in more pitchers. So some guys that I like at starting pitcher. Okay, let's take a look. Lawrence Butler just went. That's why I'm looking over here at pitchers again. Some guys that I like at pitcher are Gavin Williams. I do like Flaherty. Andrew Abbott could have another year that he goes forward. Rodon, oh man, isn't that unfortunate? Isn't he working on coming back from surgery? Yeah, he's got those bones in his arm. But there's like Merrill Kelly, Mackenzie Gore, like I said. These are the guys I have queued up. You might notice that I have Aroldis Chapman queued up. Let's go ahead and grab Gavin Williams. You might notice that I have Aroldis Chapman queued up here. And that's for good reason, because I'm going to put him in that spot and see if he'll get me those points again. Okay? That way I don't have an empty spot. I have a spot with someone getting points. And to have Aroldis Chapman in there is not going to hurt me, unless he gets hurt. But if he gets the same points he did last year or similar, well, then that's going to be a good number of points from a relief pitcher spot that a lot of folks are going to be leaving empty. And now I can keep going with starting pitchers. I don't think I'm going to get another relief pitcher. That's going to be the last one, because that's the last one that I see getting good points. Iglesias will be fine. Estevez will be fine, I suppose. But that's what he got last year, was 578. So I want to be able to get as many starting pitchers in there as possible, because I want these guys that are going to score more than 600 points. And, well, oh, poor Rodon. Even Matthew Boyd scored more than 600. Merrill Kelly scored more than 600. This year they're projected to get similar, but I mean, I don't want to go after a reliever who's not going to get 600. That's just how that works. So we'll go back to all players, and I'll see you on my next pick. Okay, I'm up next again, and Imanaga just went, so he won't be on my team this year. But as you can see, I've got catchers lined up here. I'm looking at taking a catcher here. Definitely taking a catcher in this round, and well, let's just go ahead and make it Drake Baldwin. I could make it Diaz, but I think they're similar. So let's go ahead and draft Drake. Well, I don't know. Diaz has a history of just, he's going to keep doing the same thing, right? Yeah, all right, we'll draft Diaz. And then I've got an outfielder position that I still need to fill. Are you seeing that? And then I've got to get pitchers. Now, the pitchers I have lined up, I don't think some of them are getting back to me. But it doesn't matter. I've got to get an outfielder, and that's between Grisham and Ramos. So who's the guy? Grisham or Ramos? You know, they're similar. They're so very similar. Which one could take a step forward? I think that Grisham could take a step forward. So I'm going to go ahead and take Grisham right here. I know it seems like it's an early pick, but that's the pick that I need to fill out my team. I now have all my bats. I won't have any more than one bench bat, but at this point now I have to focus on pitchers. And you can see over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitchers queued up to be looking at. So, we're moving along. I'll see you on the next pick. Okay, my turn is coming up next. My bats are filled out, so I am focused on pitching now. Unless there's a bat that you can tell me that I need to have. You know, okay, you might be right. I could use, Ramos could stand to be on my team. It would not hurt. Friedel, you know, it wouldn't hurt. But seriously, fellas, don't you think this looks like the point where I've got to get pitching, right? Because I still don't have my starting pitchers filled out. That's a recipe for disaster. All right, so I am up. Brady Singer projected to get some good points up in her. Let's see. Aaron Nola may have a good comeback season. There's Mitch Keller. Brady Singer. I don't see anything wrong with Brady Singer, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and take Aaron Nola. And, well, I'm looking at Kikuchi. Because he's a solid target. You know, he gets the strikeouts, which means he's going to get the points. So now I've got my starting pitchers filled out. I need to fill in 4 bench and a relief pitcher. So, that's where taking pitchers earlier than I did will help. But, I mean, in this points league, I am seriously after points in every position I can get. I don't want to sacrifice any position. So, let's get to work with it, right? All right, see you when the next one comes back. Okay, I'm up next. And I'm looking at taking Connolly early if he's there. I don't know if this guy's going to take him right now. You know, I mean, I need to get more starting pitching, and this is a guy who's going to help. Well, assuming... Why are they only projecting him to get 8? All right, well, I guess they're projecting him to be on an innings count. I don't know what's happening there. He did fine. Okay, there could be some regression, yeah, but, they lowered the fences. Oh, well, that's not my favorite thing to have happened. That's one of my least favorite things to have had happened. So, in that case, well, let's go ahead. I'm going to draft this bat that I've been wanting on my bench. Ramos can be on my bench. But then who? I do like Casey Mize. I know I sound weird. I'm going to be picking up some young players. Who else down here? All right, let's go ahead and do the Ramos thing. Get back up here. Can I take a chance on early? Jose Soriano was having a fine season last year. Is Sasaki going to come back to his form? What about Shane Smith? Well, what will his improvement be? Reynaldo Lopez, boy, that one didn't work out last year for most folks who took him. Justin Steele? Clay Holmes? You know, now that he's had another year in there. Well, you know what? Maybe I do take a chance on Clay Holmes. I mean, he didn't do great last year. 487 total. But he's had a year as a starter now, so let's go ahead and take Clay Holmes. Why not? I'm filling out so many positions on the bench here. It's going to be silly. All right, we have a bench bat. We still don't have that second relief pitcher that I don't care about. I've started filling out the bench. I've got 4 more starting pitchers that I should grab. You can see I've got Mize and Lauer targeted for, because, you know, I mean, I like these pitchers. And we'll see how it goes. All right, see you when I get back. All right, I am up next again, and we're starting pitching. That's where we're at, fellas. I think it might be Mize and then Bello. But these are the 3 guys I've got queued up. Still need to grab a total of 4. And, you know, I mean, we're going to try to make the absolute best stack of pitchers I can after having filled in so many bats so early. While other folks were grabbing some starting pitching, first, second, third round, I was grabbing bats. So, my strategy for this one, I still have an army of pitchers, but I've grabbed them all late. All right. So, let's do Casey Mize, Brian Bello. There. Okay. Moving along. I've still got 2 more picks to pick out. When it comes back to me, they'll be starting pitchers. And we'll see what happens when it gets back. So, my final 2 picks come up after this one. You can see that I've got Cameron and Lauer teed up. I've got a couple of young fellas that, man, okay, one, Lauer, he can just sit in that relief pitcher spot that's empty and just be there constantly, and whenever he starts, he's just in that spot. I don't have to worry about it. And then Cameron, man, Cameron could have a better year. Seriously. Okay, so they're both back to me, which means I draft them both. Cameron, Lauer. Boom. All right. This is unfair. I'm going to look at the standings for projected stats. And I'm projected to miss the playoffs. But if you look at last year's stats, I'm projected that I would have actually dominated this whole thing pretty well. Ranger Danger may catch me, but Phillips Stars might catch me. But basically, I've got the points. Now we can't count on people to do what they did last year, but we also can't count on the projections because seriously, how often have you guys seen Yahoo's projections just be ridiculous? I mean, ridiculous. So I'm gonna put my hat on. Hey, fellas, I did the thing, and my guys are going to score more points than everybody. Huzzah, huzzah. Actually, that's impressive. I mean, some of these teams, like, you're taking a lot of rookies who didn't put up any numbers. You're taking a lot of pitchers who are expected to improve. You know, we don't know what the year is going to look like. We don't know what the year is going to look like, fellas. You know, that's the bottom line. We don't know who's going to have a one of those greatest seasons someone has ever had. You know, Cal Raleigh last year is the perfect example of that. We didn't know that was coming. Well, some of us were like, "Hey, he's a good catcher to get." But who saw how many home runs did he have? My God, who saw that? If you did and you didn't tell anybody, man, you're rude. You're just rude. All right, so I feel like the Random City Sports Ballers are going to put together a damn near perfect team on this one. Let's take a look here. We've got Diaz, Houston's catcher, Matt Olson, Jazz Chisholm, who qualifies second and third base, Michael Garcia, second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. We got Perdomo in our shortstop position. Riley Green in our first outfield, Tyler Soderstrom, who also qualifies first base, and Trent Grisham, my least favorite outfielder right now, but I don't hate him. And then we have Ohtani. We took Michael Bush as a utility guy to get us some points, and we took Helio Ramos because my bench guy needs to be able to fill in a lot, and since I have outfield here, first base here, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield here, second base, third base here, I think I will always be able to field a full lineup when it's possible. Then we took Gausman, Ohtani. We have Aroldis Chapman as our actual reliever. And then we took Eric Lauer. And I'm telling you, I think he could have an upcoming year. Zach Wheeler, come on, Gavin Williams. And then Aaron Nola, Kikuchi, Clay Holmes, Casey Mize, Brian Bello, and Noah Cameron round out the totality of my starting pitchers. So we've got us an army of pitchers, one bench bat that is a good fill-in for some of these. You know, I mean, there's going to be an outfielder who's got a day off. Someone, the first base has a day off, and boom, I can plug in here. You know, this is all going to work out so great. I think we have put together a championship game team. We only had one points league last year, and that team did make the championship game. So let's make sure we are aware that, you know, I've done this before. I understand that taking starting pitching too early can be detrimental. It just can be. And, well, sometimes you got to get lucky. You got to get Cal Raleigh. Right? All right. Fellas, thanks for tuning into this draft. I know that you figured out that I don't give in-season advice. That's not really my position. I don't I don't do that. I just let you see my draft and what I've put together. And I hope that you can use my draft and work it towards putting together your own draft. You know, maybe you want to put together this Ranger Danger with Austin Wells, Pete Alonso, Kettle Marte, Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, Kyle Schwarber, Seiya Suzuki, Ian Happ, Taylor Ward, Mike Trout, and Adolis Garcia. But then, you know, he's got Hunter Green, Freddie Peralta. He did take 2 closers. Lazardo, Ranger Suarez, Flaherty, Cabrera, Soriano, Tejan, Leiter. Wow, that's a good pick. And Michael Wacha. So maybe you want to try to put together a team like mine or like his, but anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all your support during this rough time last year. Thanks for tuning in.